All right, episode 130. Today we're going to cover part 2 of the 5 ways to get more listings in 2022. Let's get started right now.
130.
All right, episode 130. Today we are covering part 2 of the 5 ways to get more listings in 2022. And if this year's your first time watching or listening, thank you. And if you have not joined our Facebook group, go to the only real estate group worth being a part of. Go request access, join in there. We got a lot of people signing up the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been like a kind of a flood and some really good conversations in there.
Yes.
I like jumping in there and pitching in.
I'm 100% getting put in Facebook jail today because I am sharing this like a madman.
Good.
So if anybody wants to help me out and you're watching this,
We're 12.
Share
We're
us
13.
out.
We were 13 minutes past.
I
because
caused it. That was my
Kelderman
fault.
decided he's like, "Hey, coming back from lunch."
I
Like,
didn't.
let's
I was
do it.
out celebrating the amazing Joanna Rodriguez. It's her birthday,
It is
so I took her to lunch. Yeah.
stone cold killer.
That's right.
know.
That's right. And today's show is brought to you by our favorite lender, Mortgage Mike. Right? You want that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. All you need to go is to mortgagemikeoftexas.com. He's one of the most badass Texas lenders out there. So you want a smooth deal? You want an easy deal? You want your clients to be happy and refer you more clients?
Mortgage Mike blew my mind yesterday. I was at his office, Monday, and I saw a black whiteboard. You use glow,
Yes.
like neon dry erase pens, and the whiteboard is black. And I had not only have I never seen that before, I never even fathomed something like that. I saw it and I was just immediately.
I want a clear board like
Enthralled.
you see on the movies where you just write through and then we've got the camera on the other side.
Yeah.
The other side.
I feel like all that shit would be so hard
you
to
gotta,
read.
you gotta write an ambulance, right? You got to write in the ambulance mode where you're writing backwards.
Yes. But then
Like so when somebody sees it through a rearview
Exactly.
mirror.
but then we have the lights dimmed, right?
Okay.
But only shining on that board. that
Somebody
clear
did
board.
tell me one time, like the alternative for because whiteboards, let's talk about a weird real estate expense. Why are whiteboards so damn
They
expensive?
super are. They're
Yeah.
just basically balsa wood that you cover in this coating.
And like
It
some
doesn't seem-
lacquer thing,
Yeah.
right? Like IKEA sells like big chunks of like tables that you could do what Nick's talking about, have a Mission Impossible experience.
Look,
do
I
that
will tell you
instead.
because I have in my office, I've got it on the wall itself where we've got the whiteboard wall,
Yeah.
and you can still kind of feel the wall imperfections on it.
Yeah.
So I'm still a fan
Yeah.
of the whiteboard or the rolling whiteboard just because I can just put it away. And I
Yeah.
have to look at it.
That glass thing in the middle, you can't read it though. It always drove me on crazy on movies too. And like when they have like the really sexy like a CSI lab, and they got like this like or like in Star Wars or something where like they're doing the plan and some hologram comes up in the middle of the room. Like that's so hard to see. Like just pass out flyers with a map. It'd be so easy to just tell people where you're going.
Yeah.
We're going this way to the left.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, y'all might get too complicated.
All right. Our second sponsor,
Oh, we're still there.
property management company. Yeah, we went off a little bit.
Sorry.
I mean, we don't have to talk about the best property management company in Dallas Fort Worth.
It's our show. We'll do whatever we want. Whatever we
Okay,
want.
all right, then we'll do it. So homewardfw.com. Look, if you are a real estate agent, maybe you've got some investors that own rental properties or wanting to buy rental properties and they don't want to manage it, but you don't know who to refer out, just go check out homewardfw.com and chat with our property manager, who's the best one around because look,
Mhm.
she likes what she does. And look, we've kind of helped her streamline her processes with making sure the communication's there, making sure she doesn't really screw over the landlord
Mhm.
and looks for good tenants for that person.
Here's one of the really cool things to peel the onion back on that a little bit,
Ooh.
right? Like to let people know like what the thought process. When we started Homeward Property Management, there was actual real conversations, and this goes to what Nick was talking about how amazing Dana is and how much she is dedicated to making this different than every other property management experience. There were actually stuff that we were talking about early on in this process of developing this company where we're like, hey, we should do this and this, thinking about it from a business efficiency
Yeah.
standpoint. And she was like, no.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not how we're going to run the business. We need this and this thing. And we were all like, oh, awesome. And that was where Nick came around and all of a sudden realizing like, property management companies aren't just giant toilets.
No, we're not. So go to homewardfw.com. If you send a referral right, you can enter into the contest that we are running. That there will be a drawing for a Oculus VR headset.
And you can come play. How much does that Wolf Creek course cost? Because we're going to play tonight.
It's $8.
God, they are just robbing me blind. But
Dude,
you can win the Oculus and come play golf
They
with us.
found the Fortnite model.
They did.
Right? Give the things away for free and then charge for the upgrades.
Dude.
I woke up the other morning because Luke was over at Mama's house. I woke up the other morning to 3 emails, which, by the way, parenting advice, disconnect your credit card from all your kids' shit. Luke spent $86
Bro.
on Fortnite.
Can I one up you? Can I just one up? Like, I don't want to do it. Can I one up
What'd
you?
the new baby do? Please, always.
The new baby did not do this.
He threw it off the plank already.
So I got a call from Amex from the fraud department. They're like, "Hey, we got these Apple charges for, like, they're rattling off hundreds of dollars of charges."
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, "No, that's fraud. I'm not spending that."
Yeah.
Asher went in and he plays Minecraft, and he's like,
Sure.
"Dad, I'm getting all these. I'm winning all these dinosaurs.
I'm winning them.
$500 worth."
Dude, there's
No.
I have heard stories, like, I can't remember who it was, but it's some celebrity, like, all of a sudden they came home one day and their kid, there was a Fortnite thing.
Yeah.
Like, their kid had spent like $1,200 on freaking
Dude,
Fortnite.
It was
crap.
a football player. I can't remember. I remember the
can't remember who
story
it
a little
was,
bit.
dude.
Yeah, he tweeted about it. That is bananas.
This is
dude.
that thing that, like, especially me, like, I'm be 43 next week,
Yeah.
and I have a 7-year-old, so, like, I'm way overcompensating, like, to, like, make all these experiences. This is one of the things about being an old parent, is, like, you have all this perspective of, like, how you, like, want your kid's life to be, and you try to create this thing, and, like, I'm overdoing it with Luke, though. Like, I went into his room the other day, and he's got all this stuff in there, and I was kind of looking around, and I was like, he didn't ask me for a single fucking thing in this room, and somehow I have dumped like $5,000 into this
Like,
12 by 12 space between fat heads and freaking lockers. Have Brian's mom and dad come over and put it together for me while they're on vacation, right? That dude spends 30 minutes a week in his bedroom.
That was all because of you.
Do you even
right?
like Nerf guns?
No, he
I've never asked
doesn't.
you.
He doesn't. But the wall display looks awesome.
That's what we do. That's what we do. All right. So this is part 2 of the 5 ways to get more listings in 2022. So if you go back to part 1, we only covered 2 of those, which was expired listings, like going back 2 to 3 years, right? And really reaching out to those and letting them know, one, how much property values have increased, right? So is the time now to make that move?
And speaking to that we practice what we preach. This is actually a conversation that came up on our team last week and was implemented this week. Guys, I would just tell you, we've done this where we reached out to some of these old expireds. You would be shocked at the amount of people who are confused. They're not confused about the market. They don't have this information, right? Like, there were multiple people I've talked to in the past 7 days between either my conversation or telling some of the agents to kind of reach out to some of these people, and they're come back and like, hey, what do I say to this? People had no idea. Don't even go into this with, hey, I want to sell your home. Just offer an opportunity for them to have updated information. Yeah. People will be interested, I promise.
100%. We do this thing in real estate where we sort of just assume that everyone in the general public knows, like, keeps their finger on the pulse of the real estate market like we do. And they just super do not.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a huge opportunity, 100%.
Number 2 was, of course, database. Yeah. Right. And so, that should be probably number 1. That's probably should be a given. Really,
definitely more deals in your database than anywhere else.
Yeah. Working that when everyone's, no, it's your data bank. Right.
I feel like I
hate when they make up cliched, douchey words for things.
Data bank so much. I feel like I say database and database like so interchangeably, but I don't have one way I've ever said it. Just weird.
Do you say tomato paste and tomato paste?
Right. I don't think I talk about that enough. Tomato paste. That sounds super douchey.
Anybody who like legitimately just your default is tomato, I just throw a tomato emoji.
Yeah, it's not organic. Nobody is organically saying tomato.
No, I feel like it's an English person.
Alex might. He's British. But in
that's
America,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be an American person trying to do a bit.
Alex would definitely. Tomato and garage.
And garage.
For the garage.
That's a good one. Yeah, my buddy Darren has got some fun ones like that.
Yeah, garage.
It's ridiculous.
So
your data bank is second.
Your data bank. So number 3, right, would be, if we're going to go after low-hanging fruit. And I was talking with, I was on an agent's kind of show podcast thing out in California. And she was talking about what should new agents do right now to go get right now business, right? And a lot of the coaches, that talk about this is your low hanging fruit, expireds. And then, of course, for sale by owners.
Yep, 100%.
Now,
those are just pre-expireds, by the way.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And if you really look at the for sale by owner market right now, it's probably more of a gold mine than even probably your expired game of going back 2 to 3, even the 2 to 3 year mark, because your 2 to 3 year mark, they have changed their mind about selling right now. So you've got to go warm them back up.
Yep.
Right. Those for sale by owner people are saying, hey, if they've got their hand raised, and the only reason they're for sale by owner more than likely is that they don't just want to pay a commission.
Sure.
So that's that, and they're probably grossly overpriced.
The thing about FSBOs right now, and this is exactly what people like, the objection that agents say sometimes is like, well, it's such a hot market, like FSBOs are just going to sell. And the reality is, like, we had you were talking about a situation yesterday at team meeting. We had one listing in Frisco that got 100 offers or something like that. There's like a story.
Yeah, it was a story that's floating around. Everybody was posting it here locally. Yeah.
So like the amount of I would say enhancement to those offers versus a FSBO, when you put yourself in the psychology of a buyer, when they know they need to act quick and they know they need to come strong with a strong offer, your FSBO for the most part isn't even getting a lot of play because people just don't have time to go seek you out, right? Like if you're trying to compete right now, you are looking at homes with an agent on the MLS because you are trying to get things done quickly and be competitive, right? With the lack of distribution channels for FSBOs, with the lack of marketing exposure for FSBOs, they may get offers, sure. And if you're in a market where you're getting 3 or 4 offers as opposed to 30, I guarantee you are netting more when you're working with an agent. And if you can wrap your head around that, it's a very easy objection to handle.
It's an exposure issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I say this all the time, there's a reason that McDonald's and Coke still spend half of their revenue on marketing. It's because it matters.
Yes.
Right? FSBOs are not being marketed at the highest possible level because they can't be. Right? The person selling their house assuredly has another job, right? They don't have access to the same systems you have access to. Now, let's talk about this in a baseball sense, because I love the fact that you can use pretty much any stat in baseball to prove or disprove anything you want to about, right? FSBOs are the exact same way. If you are a buyer's agent, you 100% should be focused on FSBOs as opportunities for your buyers, because most agents are not.
Yep.
You should be searching those out as a listing agent. You should be searching out those FSBOs because most buyers agents are not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like it's the same fucking sentence for like, it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. It's an effective source of business for you to potentially take advantage of, right? Like a FSBO being represented by an agent is going to have a buyer being represented by an agent who is purchasing a for sale by owner is at a distinct advantage of just data if you have the right agent, right?
100%.
That agent who can go and talk to the for sale by owner about how they can get their home sold for X amount of dollars. Of course, I don't have a time machine or a crystal ball, so I can't let Nick sell it and then go back and let Matt sell it, right? But here's what I can show you. I can show you data over time that for sale by owners, even in hot markets, aren't able to get as much as we are.
Yep.
We sold 306 houses last year.
310. But who's counting?
Our average list price versus sales price on our listings was 104%.
Yeah.
Right. I guarantee if you took all of the FSBOs in DFW and we were able to accurately track that information, there's no way in God's green earth that across the board FSBOs were selling in 11 days for 104% of list price, which is 100% what we did. Right. Like it's being able to convey that information and help them understand that and meeting them at the right time.
Sure.
Well,
right?
So go on Zillow, right? And you go to the for sale by owner part.
Or forsalebyowner.com.
Well, I want to do this where to really prove your point of you go on there and you look at the Zillow FSBOs. Mm-hmm. A lot of these are sitting 30, 40.
That's to say, you can just look at the time right there.
Right. So you can see time on market that they're trying to sell. Yeah. And so you start adding up, okay, you got a mortgage on it, you've got taxes on it. What's the opportunity cost? What's the time cost involved? It's probably not selling because you're no longer answering your phone, because what are you getting called by? A lot of real estate agents, right? So then you're over here like you're already skeptical as a homeowner, like, all right, does this person really have a buyer? Do they not? Are they just trying to get the listing? Yep. So you do have to wade through a lot of junk in order to still get that for sale by owner appointment and prove your value and your worth.
Right.
Right. So that we're not, eroding away the real estate industry like some agents are. God.
I
like that.
Yeah. The eroding away of the real estate industry, right? Like we always, because we do this thing and we understand people are really easy to like pick on commissions and stuff, even just from us acting like there's some commission base. We all know that none of that happens, right? Like we're not talking about percentages in this conversation. But I also want agents to understand that when you're running a real estate business, there is a cost of acquisition when it comes to how you approach any lead that comes in, right? Like this idea that there is a set commission, which there isn't, in real estate in general, that you deserve because you bring a buyer a certain percentage, right? I've been on this on both sides of this coin, right? I think as real estate professionals, we have to make business decisions every single day, right? What you're not allowed to do is make business decisions for the other party, as long as you're being fair and equal with whatever that compensation looks like. I don't even know how to word this. I'm on camera. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah,
whatever that compensation looks like, that just is what the compensation is, right? And like, here's the thing is, you would also be eroding the real estate industry by not showing that property, because that's called steering.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh
like,
my gosh,
it's just
right?
like, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Like I would ask this question. First of all, what up, Matthew? Thanks for watching. It's super good to meet you in person last week, by the way.
I was so bummed I couldn't meet you.
It was him, Nate, me. We were talking shit about you the whole time.
Of course.
Yeah. So again, to keep this compliant, there's a certain percentage that seems to be like the general rule of thumb to charge people in real estate or whatever, right? And I'm actually on both sides of this conversation, because I tell our agents all the time, like, sometimes people get in the habit of doing this like as it's a value add, like cutting their commission because they think it's the only way to get a listing or a buyer or whatever, because like they think that's part of their value. Like I hate that, right? Like especially the high price listing that you automatically give a discount on without even talking about commission with them, because you think it'll secure. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, really well off people are willing to pay you your full boat. Yeah, for the most part, like across the board, it's almost entirely true, right? But I would also say this, like when we talk about like commissions and the eroding of the industry or whatever, where did that general rule of thumb percentage that we talk about, where did that come from in the first place?
That's what I want to know.
Who set that benchmark?
And look,
so unless you can justify that being the benchmark, like if you can unless you can like somehow itemize it, that's the benchmark, shouldn't it come down to what your business looks like and how profitable you are? Like if you run leaner and meaner, couldn't that adjust? Like I'm not advocating for people cutting the commissions at all. I like to have deeper conversations about the business side of this, and a lot of people don't like to do that, so they stick by that benchmark of the general rule of thumb and say that anything below that is like bad or whatever. Like, I don't think Walmart's calling up Target and talking to them about margins. Like, they have different businesses. You know what I mean? Like, it should be.
And guess what? They sell very similar items.
Yes.
And you have people that go to Target and you have people who go to Walmart.
Sure.
Right. So there's still, both businesses probably do very, very well in their own right.
Yeah.
And so, this is part of taking more listings in 2022 and in the future. What you will start seeing is that commission compression, where you better get your
We've been talking about this since
2018,
the beginning of this podcast.
The beginning
if this is new information to you, you're either new here or not listening. Like, we have been talking about, people are coming for your paycheck as real estate agents.
But we thought, what we thought it was going to be? We thought it was going to be the technology that disrupted. It was the pandemic that started disrupting it. That then got into the inventory levels. The inventory levels got so drastically short that what's going to happen? You're going to, in order for the 500 million real estate agents competing for one listing, what are they going to do?
Isn't that an interesting conclusion to come to, though? Is we were always worried about the technology companies being the ones that drive commissions down to the floor. But the reality is, all you needed was an inventory shortage, and agents would start acting like Lord of the Flies around here. We're our own worst enemies. But I guarantee you, if you survive the storm and inventory picks back up, you're not going to have to fight for your commission the same way that you do right now. But it's not Zillow that's trying to get rid of your commission.
If inventory drastically, but it's not going to drastically go up, over a 12-month period. So it's going to be a slow gradual rise, right?
Yeah.
Do we see commissions stay where they're at, or do we see them increase?
Look, I do think being able to offer less on the buy side right now is a byproduct of buyers agents having to get in where they fit in. right? Like when we're in a low inventory market, you've got buyers who, I still see the stats that like the average buyer is only writing 2 offers. I want to know who that is because it's way more than 2 for me, I'm not shitty at this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like my buyers are writing strong offers, and it's more than 2 for most of those. So again, lagging indicator of what's really happening, right? But yes, to your point, I don't think there's a commission compression thing going on when it like long term. Whether the consumer continues to pay or not, it's how they divvy up that percentage. Agents who have listings right now are able to dictate how much money is being paid out on the other side because we're just talking about commissions specifically. That's what I put this. Agents who have a listing are able to dictate where that money goes if they're not hemmed in by their brokerage, right? That is, I think the consumer is already seeing that. The consumer, like, I don't think agents who are offering X amount of percentage are giving their unfair share. I think it's still, there are those guys. I think it's still though that there are people offering, hey, look, I'm taking 50% of it. You're taking 50% of it. Overall, it's just a smaller pool. Maybe in a more balanced market, the listing agent would have to make that business decision and take, a third less than they might take in a normal situation. But this is just an extension of supply and demand. You're just recognizing now in real estate as a real estate agent that if you're not the listing agent and you're dealing with a buyer or multiple buyers in this market, you are at a disadvantage.
Or you learn how to get paid off of your buyer and make up the difference.
Can we talk about that a little bit though?
Well, that's actually, I want to segue into that because this is a good point. Like when we talk about, we always freak out about big changes or really any type of changes in the industry. Do you think that when buyer agency was even first introduced in like the early 90s, like that meant that listing agents commission got cut in half because now they were paying half to their side. Right. Do you think that they were having the same conversation we're having right now? Like the whole industry's going down.
Yeah.
You just cut my commission and
they're like eroding it away.
Yeah. Like somehow we survived, but isn't that interesting that like we've gone through like a lot of fundamental changes in the compensation structure and somehow us as an industry have survived and thrived. So do you think that is a possibility in the future that buyers pay a higher commission than they do now?
I only say no because I don't see how you flip that script on people, right? Like, because Nick talks about this, or I've heard people talk about this on Facebook forums, and Brian and I talked about this 2 weeks ago where we were just bagging on the comment section of fucking Facebook places. But people go in there like, I'm worth my commission. I'm not going to pick that apart. I will say that if it's a reduced commission on the buy side, there's nothing in my buyer rep agreement that says the buyer's paying any more than that. And that's intentional only because I can't reconcile that, right? Like if they decide to buy a house that is a reduced commission, my goal is to get that buyer in with the greatest feelings possible, right? And I will pick up you and all your referrals later in the game. If that means I've got to eat 33% on the commission because I didn't rope you into paying that other.
What happens if they go to one that pays 0 commission?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. And that's obviously the question, right? The no money thing.
That you've gone and showed them 30 houses because they've written offers and they lost, and you've spent time away from your kid. You've spent gas money and time away from your lead generation. No, and
there's losses in business ownership though, right? Like if we take out the fact that you're a business owner, and again, I'm not saying you made a bad decision as a business owner. I'm just saying that it is a decision that was made, right. And it's a situation that's affecting you, and like water in a river, you got to flow around the rock, right? Like so yes, that sucks.
Bruce Lee said that.
But how do you take How do you take that and turn it into something else? Because I agree with you. Of course I don't want to work for nothing. And at the end of the day, would I rather have the relationship? If I'm going to get nothing out of it, am I going to look at my client and say, you now owe me 3%? Or I'm going to say nothing and keep that relationship for life, knowing that is more valuable than the one transaction.
What if,
and I didn't think that way at year 2. I can't think that way at year 2.
Hold on, Brian, because I know you probably have a great point. What if you and your buyer's consultation said, hey, Matt, I just wanted to make you aware of something that, some of these properties are, may offer, commission or 0 commission. And what I don't want to do is bring up an awkward conversation at a later time. If it was okay if we had it right now, would you be okay if you did happen to stumble and find a property that was the perfect fit for you and your family, Matt, and that offered 0 commission? Could we work out an agreement where you pay my commission up to a certain amount. Right? Would that make it easier if you did that in the beginning of the consultation?
100%.
Okay, that's all it is.
So you just made
And if they say no, I'm going to struggle to push back super hard on that, because what are we talking about with like our 225 buyers in DFW right now, which is an impossible freaking price point, that are struggling. And we're, because here's the thing is, in this market, we're going to buyers and asking them to write 5, 7, 10% of our list price. And not only write it, but guarantee it if it doesn't come in. So now I'm sitting here saying, look, I understand it's a difficult market. I understand it's kind of your problem. And as your representative, your fiduciary, I know that we're going to be on razor thin possibilities. Now you're talking about legitimately telling a buyer like, hey, I could work with you and I am the best person to work with you. And I know you need the help of somebody qualified, because if I don't help you, you're going to go to some discount motherfucker who's probably doesn't have your best interest at heart. Now they're walking away from that transaction feeling shitty. And say that's a 25-year-old buyer whose purchase potential and network is 30 transactions over the next decade.
Course, yes.
They're all business decisions.
Right. Everything's, and that's the reason why you would have that conversation up front.
Of course.
And when we didn't have to have it, this is not a scripting conversation that we had to have back in 18 and 19.
No.
Right. This started happening. Actually, we didn't even have to worry about it in 2020. It really started in 21, where all you have to do is incorporate that in. So now it gives you are in the driver's seat, right? Of allowing yourself, Matt, of saying, hey, if this were to happen, are you in a financial spot to pay the commission? And if they say no, then that's your call of saying, all right, if they're a 250 buyer, even in this Dallas-Fort Worth market,
sure,
do I have the capacity to go help them and take on that emotional energy, because they're going to get beat out probably 4, 5, 6 times before they go under contract, right? Then I have to be the Pop-Tart agent on this time, because it's hard to, if we find a $250,000 house, we got to go.
We got to go.
Right? And I still need to make sure that I'm helping my other clients, because I have a fiduciary to them as well, right? So then it allows you to be still in that driver's seat of saying, you know what, Matt, I do want to help you, because I do know that we're going to get you into this house, and then you're going to scream from the mountaintops about how great this experience was. Even though I'm going to tell you, you're going to come out,
a great job of this.
You're going to come out bloodied. You're going to come out bruised. You're going to be crying. You're going to be pissed. But then when you're in that house and you're celebrating Christmas and Thanksgiving in it, and when you're ready to go sell it into that move up into that next home, guess what? We're going to be there for you.
You're not going to remember any of that. Yeah.
This is...
The people pleaser in me struggles with that.
You guys just laid out like the whole perfect premise of this conversation, right? Like, we go back and forth on all these things because I think the system is set up in such a strange way in the first place. Like, imagine, I think the easiest solution to get past all this commission stuff is just having, and I don't know why we don't do this, the seller pays the listing agent commission and the buyer pays the buyer agent commission. And why don't we do that?
Doesn't the buyer already pay all commissions?
No. Oh, yeah, they do.
Rolled into their loan.
It's rolled
Plus
into
interest.
It's rolled in their loan. It's rolled in the sales price. But here's the thing. The seller dictates the commission rate.
Okay.
But the buyer pays it. You see what I'm saying? If the buyer paid their commission rate for their agent and the seller paid their commission rate for their agent, there would never be any of these conversations. And what you would have is you would go to a buyer presentation the same way you went to a listing appointment. And you would talk about, yes, you would have discount buyer's agents that worked for $200 a pop, right? And it would be a perfect system, because that's not a sustainable business model. Buyers can be time consuming, right? You would find that level where you were profitable as a buyer's agent, charging X amount of commission based on how many homes you're showing, how much time it took, what your marketing expenses were, what your business, like your whole P&L, right? And the ones that were discounting too much would organically either need to raise their prices or they would wash out of the business, right? Right now, the seller sets the pace, the buyer agrees to it when they make an offer, and the agents argue about the fucking commission that the seller was having a conversation with the listing agent about, that the buyer wasn't even a part of. And so the buyer's being compensated for their service based on a conversation that the seller had with their listing agent that they agreed to, right? And so it's a freaking ridiculous system right there. If it was general rule of thumb, insert general rule of thumb percentage, because you can't say it on the air, for the listing agent, and then general rule of thumb percentage for the buyer's agent, and they negotiated that on their own, that would just be the way that it is. And if the buyer's agent said, look, my business model is such that I offer this, this, and this, and I charge less, then great. If my business model is this, this, and this, and I charge more, then great. And then what you'd be able to do is sit down with the buyer and go, here's why I'm worth X percentage. We do this to go find the house for you, even if it's off market. This is what our marketing resources look like. This is what our transaction management looks like. This is what our experience looks like. This is our ability to negotiate contracts. Here's the evidence to success of us getting our clients into houses, even when they weren't the highest offer. This is everything we do to be super badass. You would negotiate that with your buyer the same way that you go into a listing appointment and say, here's why you should list with me. Isn't it just as important to be represented by a quality agent on the buy side as it is on the list side? So why is the listing agent and the seller deciding what the buyer's agent is worth?
So before we get to point number 4 of taking more listings, why don't we do that already?
Because the lender's involved.
Well, you can't though. You can't go to the listing agent and say, "Hey, scrap your agreement. I'm just going to negotiate."
How does a buyer who needs $5,000 in seller concessions ever pay your commission on a $200,000 house? You know what I mean? Like this is the part of it that fundamental we're talking about.
But you're not getting a $200,000 house anymore.
No. That's irrelevant because the percentages move up at all price points.
It would still, it wouldn't affect sales prices, and essentially it would still come out of the proceeds.
I'm not talking about sales price. I'm talking about buyer's ability. Buyers, the American homeowner is already. It's such a strapped position where they can barely get into homes in most situations. So
listen to what I'm
You're
saying.
now adding more actual cash debt to the transaction. How in the fuck do they do that?
It's easy. We're thinking about this at current, the way it is. Two things.
Well, yeah, obviously got to all be rewritten.
Two things would happen, right? One, sales prices would organically start to level out a little bit because you would take that percentage off of the sales price. Right now, commissions.
So sellers are losing equity, and
no, they're not.
No, they're not because they're getting the same amount of proceeds. They're not paying the other side's commission.
So they get the same amount of proceeds if we're taking X amount of percentage off of the seller's.
Which is equal to what you would be paying the buyer's agent, though.
Let's say
hypothetically, so you're ending up with the same amount of proceeds.
But the buyer's rolling that into the loan in the current scenario. In your scenario, they're having to come up with cash at closing for it because I got to get paid.
That would also be the second part of this. Is this would become a buyer closing cost? You would just have to remanipulate the process that right now we do prepaids, we do prepaid taxes, insurance, origination fee, all that type of stuff. Your buyer commission would be part of the closing cost.
It works out, man. That seems super broken up first, though.
Well,
you got to convince sellers
and
that their houses are worth less.
You're 100% right. And in the early 90s, we completely flipped the script on the real estate industry. We decided that agents were going to represent buyers exclusively in the first place. Like we've done shit like this
money
before.
Didn't change, though. It was just who was representing people. The dollar amounts to the seller stayed the same.
But who got the money changed and how that was negotiated changed. And that meant that underwriting changed.
It was fake equity on a house that the seller didn't have to come up with. And now you're kicking over the buyer's side that's real cash.
Yeah.
No, but the buyer's still paying that in their loan.
I get it, but they can it's the same reason the majority of Americans are broke.
Right,
and I know you're way smart about this, but I'm just saying, like,
what I'm saying is if the lender's going to loan that money anyway, okay, so let's say it's a $400,000 house and you got X amount of percentage in commission, right? That $400,000 house, the buyer's agent's commission is worked into that sales price.
Right.
What you say that the seller is paying the buyer's commission. That's really the lender's paying it.
Okay.
So it would just be numbers on a spreadsheet. They could do it as closing costs instead of part of the actual principal balance.
Okay.
It all comes
out
out the same because it's caked into the loan.
Exactly.
I got that.
Back in the day, you could still do this where like when there was 100% financing, or if you needed some extra, like you could bake down payment into the actual loan or into the offer price and have it gifted back, or there was ways
like
to manipulate things.
That's what roofers currently do with fucking deductibles
and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. That's
of course it's insurance fraud, but I'm just saying. Every real estate agent knows a freaking roofer who's like, no, your sellers don't have to pay anything to get their roof done. And I'm like, that's between y'all.
Yeah. Number four, I was looking at and a little bit out there, right? It's using your social media, but doing like polls and surveys.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone loves to try.
I don't think it's that out there, though. I just think it's so underutilized. We've had some. Young Jesse was part of one of these surveys that got 980 comments.
Yeah.
Is bananas.
Yeah. And so
I didn't mean to interrupt. I don't think it's like that unorthodox. I think it's
so awesome. If you want to, I mean, I think we did it on Jesse and I did it with asking like if there was a pile of cash that would be dropped on your doorstep for your home right now, what would that number be? Yeah. Right. And probably most of us, I mean, us three here, unfortunately, probably a lot of our friends on Facebook are real estate agents, and the rest of them, that it kind of backfires on it now.
This goes back to Kelderman's strategy that is very true, where like he doesn't friend a lot of now he does, but for the longest time, like his whole bit was like, why would I want to be friends with more agents on Facebook? I already know y'all in real life. I want to be friends with more people in my database.
Yes. Like, yes.
I don't give a shit if my posts take off because more agents comment on them. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So like if you're using surveys, and even on Instagram where you're doing it in your stories, you can ask for polls, or like, what do you think the home is worth? I'll give you $50 gift card if you come the closest one to it. Then you're collecting information. Your excuse me, your COVID. It's the antibodies. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's all right. I just recovered.
His body's still adapting to having these superpower antibodies.
Yeah. The ivermectin really kicked in. And so from that, you can help kind of funnel down the people that are going to take time to answer. You can then go reach out personally, and really have some deeper conversations. 100%. Right? I know a lot of people that pick up a ton of business all from their social media.
Yes.
Right. And doing polls. And there's a lady in my downline right now here at EXP that she's getting a ton of business off of Facebook and Instagram Reels.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she's also now getting paid for it. She's making like
a certain thing, dude.
$10,000 a month on Reels.
Yeah, but what she look like though? And I don't want to be like that guy. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying, is that a strategy everybody can implement? I haven't seen this person's TikTok.
Here's the thing. Here's what I will say. Like, regardless of that,
I'm not answering
because I ain't touching that shit. Yeah. It's consistency, right? Like it's consistency in messaging. You can roll all the way back to one of our very first episodes, and Ryan Stewman said something that that has stuck with me, and I have said it so many times. Like, if you treat your social media like it is the fucking old QVC channel where it's just a constant commercial, nobody's gonna be interested unless you're doing absurd bits like Joey Tribbiani trying to open a fucking milk carton. Right? Like, the only way to make social media effective is to pepper in what Nick's talking about with the polls and the surveys, along with your real life and things that people find attractive. Because here's the deal is, if you're trying to do anything where you are attractive to everybody, you are going to fail. Yes. If you just want to drive in the people who are going to be attracted to your content, you will have so much more success.
That's super true. And then I think the other component of this is a lot of people care a lot about engagement and not enough about what they do with that engagement. Meaning like people sort of feel like if they just get a lot of engagement on their posts, like good things will happen. And like we were mentioning before, like, every piece of engagement you get is an opportunity to further the conversation and take it deeper, right? People will get a lot of really great engagement on posts like that. If I dropped the briefcase on your door with or whatever that one is, right? But then they won't go and extend those conversations.
Yeah, like you're not dropping in their DMs, you're not doing anything.
Yeah,
and look, and it's probably somewhat okay, like for the average person who. For the average agent that's probably just selling 6 or 7 houses and doesn't really care to sell much more than that. But if you're truly needing this as a legit lead source of a business,
sure.
Look, you need to go be strategic. You need to then go comment. You need to then go message them.
Yeah. You need to treat it like real lead generation, not like something you do on the side.
It's kind of the bullshit thing back in the day when we knew agents at KW were taking bold and they were like, hey, I'm in a contest right now and to see who can do the most market analysis on a home. Just drop a comment down below and I'll run a free market analysis on your property. I'm just like,
I had somebody, and I won't name names to out them, call me during Bold when I was in Bold and tell me that they were trying to win a contest. And I was like, I'm also on the phone right now.
Trying to win the same contest.
What are you just doing this weird numbers game? Call a different person.
I'm actually sitting next to you right now.
Sorry to put you on blast there. But no, I think that's the biggest miss with social media in general is social media in general is this weird thing where we have this dichotomy between like just getting the engagement, which gives us that dopamine hit, but then actually going and doing something with it. Because we love the dopamine hit of getting a lot of comments.
Yeah.
That's not going to improve your business if you don't actually follow up with people and deepen those conversations.
Matthew Aguirre's right, though. Have your VA do all the work for you, man, Brian.
You're so white. That's just not how you pronounce his last name at all, but I love it.
How do you say it?
You need to have a VA do all that.
Can you do, Matt,
the thing,
do the phonetic pronunciation of your name?
The thing, like, and I agree with Maddie. I agree with Maddie to a certain point with the VA thing. And also I do think there is certain type of content that if you're going to automate, the difficulty in it is nuance, right? Like the struggle that we're running into right now is like, for instance, for those of you who didn't see, like I did a sit down with Sirhan in November, and it was an hour-long sit down that turned into like 45. Like Jesse chopped very little out of it, right? If I was to hand that hour-long video off to a VA, there would be so much. Let's put it this way, and a VA in another country, there would be so much nuance missed in that conversation that Jesse would pick up because he was in the room and was able to see kind of what the joke was and feel the vibe and be like, if I pull out this 15 seconds, this is actually really great, that somebody else might roll past. So I agree that you can automate some of this stuff, right? Like I can take the post that I did yesterday about winning, about being on Real Producers List, right? Like that's something that somebody could post and the copy of it wouldn't be the same. Right. So you do run into this barrier at some point when you talk about social media, having somebody else handle it or even editing of videos. And this is what bogs agents down a lot. Understand, like, I was really fortunate to be able to take Jesse to New York with me and catch that whole Sirhan thing. Jesse was also on Brian and I's fucking dream board for 2 years. It wasn't him, but it was somebody who could do what he could do. Right. Like some of this stuff,
but the character
of him, it was
it looked just like Jesse.
It was just a silhouette of a fucking beard.
Yes.
It looked like his golf guy.
That's all it was. And so like, I agree with Matt that you can do a ton of stuff through a VA, and your most effective use of social media is going to be you being you. If you go take Ryan Sirhan's Sell It Like Sirhan Pro course, right? They're going to tell you, you can go to his damn Instagram and sign up, or not even sign up, just follow him and get so much of this information. It is consistency and it's being yourself over time. And it's not saturating your social media with advertisements. It's just being a person.
I agree 100%. But I mean, bottom line is you got to do something with that engagement. We do a lot of, if you want to go like funnel metrics, we do a lot of top of the funnel stuff on social media. We don't bring anybody down by re-engaging them. Yeah. That's a big part of it.
Absolutely. All right, so 5 and then bonus. Like we'll call it 5A and 5B.
5A and 5B.
Right. So there's something that and this is starting to get really niche, right? And to take more listings, which we need to do right now. Yeah. And I will tell you what I left off. Hold on, let me.
Nick's an amazing note taker.
That is the problem with this new setup is Nick's got to put his notebook on the floor.
Yeah. What I did leave off was actually circle prospecting. I did not include that. Only because it takes some skill to do that.
I think that if we dive a little deeper on circle prospecting, though, like that was going to be my number 5. Because it's circle prospecting, but if it's targeted circle prospecting right now, that's one of your main sources.
But if you sign up for take10.com,
exactly.
We're still pushing that out there.
Take 10. If you I talk about this all the time. It's not just circle prospecting; it's using your buyer needs as assets.
Yes,
that's much more important than just random circle prospecting. Too many people do like I want to circle prospect around the areas that I live and all that type of stuff. That's fine. And I'll also tell you, there are probably other realtors that live where you live.
Especially in DFW.
Yeah. So just the idea that you live there isn't special. Where you need to be circle prospecting is the places where your buyers have needs, right? Like, and this is what I'm telling you right now. When the industry shifts and we start charging buyer commissions, this is going to be stuff from our buyer presentations that we are going to go find you the asset that you're looking for with our resources and our marketing systems and our conversation starting systems. But man, I will tell you right now, there's nothing there's nothing that people gravitate towards right now like a buyer that's looking for a home just like theirs.
Yes.
That's
100%. I mean, I will tell you, I personally, today's the 2nd. So yesterday there was a home that if you listen back in July, to some of the episodes back in July, I made an offer on a house.
Yes.
Right. And
this is a fun story.
And the offer fell through just because it was a little wonky in terms of, I think, the representation that person had.
Yeah.
But I won't go too much into detail. And so that homeowner canceled their listing and went temporarily off the market, which means we as agents cannot contact them because there's an active listing agreement still in place. And so I watched that thing
against the Constitution.
Yes. I watched that thing every single day until it officially expired. Right.
I
skip traced it. I skip traced it. I found the person on Facebook, sent a message yesterday, overnighted a handwritten letter to them.
Jeez.
And I have texted and called all 12 numbers that the skip trace has pulled. Now, nothing yet, but I will get that because I am going to make an offer on that house. I am the buyer.
Home team.
Yes.
Reply stop.
Yes. Well, they don't have to reply stop because I'm manually sending the text.
Okay,
so my
that's fair.
stop does not show up on my text.
All right.
But 5 and 6, because I do, the circle prospect, and we could do a whole show on that and get them to see behind the curtains and have agents maybe sign up and maybe pay a little money on that and kind of see how you can remove some human friction to it and help them.
We might.
But 5A and 5B is finding that lower, maybe ready to go, low hanging fruit of probate and divorce.
Ooh, that is the thing. And I read this the other day. Is that there was a big prediction about how many babies were going to be created during the pandemic. And in fact, divorces outweighed them. I saw a little, you see the smiley face just tick up there by one?
They sure did.
Funny. Divorces outweighed new baby making by a mile.
I grabbed myself a COVID divorce.
So that might be, and look, I don't wish ill upon anybody in this situation, but that would be a good place to probably put a strategy.
Yeah, a strategy, and unfortunately, my brother passed away, and I'm starting to see the probate letters coming in, and I'm going to tell you right now, they kind of all suck.
They're not very good.
No, I mean,
he would have had better ones.
Honestly, in honor of him, you could just take all that marketing and retrofit it. Because I remember coming to y'all's old office.
That's what I'm doing.
I remember coming to y'all's old office where you just had fucking stacks of flyers of how you guys were like destroying other people's markets.
We go, and I'm like, all right, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. Let me go ahead and add this
Jesse,
one to her.
That's too early. That's April of 2020.
Yeah. So, probate and divorce, because look, if you're marketing and you have your funnels and you've got your lead generation systems in place in this, these are people that are lower hanging fruit. It's just harder to go find. Right. And so, and
it's a little bit uncomfortable to find, right? There's a conversation there that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. You know, it's very similar to like people who are in a foreclosure situation. I think there are people who are unique. This is a part of my business I wish I had learned earlier. Like just growing up as a broke kid and understand what it's like to be broke. You can almost have that conversation with somebody who's like, hey, dude, I'm not here to like screw you over. Like, I understand the anxiety and the difficulty and the straight gut wrenching fear that comes with like not knowing how the fuck you're going to eat next week.
Yeah.
I'm just here to try and help you out of that. Right. And again, being able to tell that story and have that conversation, retrofitting it to probate and divorce. You have those type of experiences where you can meet somebody where they're at and show them how you're different. You're
think though, like in the probate, there's a letter that I received and they're like, my mother and brother passed away and stuff like that. And I do think that at times when family in the probate side, that too many people that are trying to list or buy the house, right, investor wise, they're trying to make a similar connection. And personally, for me, that doesn't work. I'm like,
but here's the thing:
alignment in that scenario.
Alignment matters a lot, and I also think that divorce, death, and foreclosure are 3 different things. Just like a lot of agents will lump in, you'll hear brokers all the time being like, "Oh, just call expireds and FSBOs like they're the same thing." Brian and I tried to retrofit automation for the 2, and I can tell you right now, expireds were good with it. FSBOs didn't give 2 shits. So you also have to understand that like the messaging for those 3, because just because you've been through those life events doesn't mean you can tell the story of those life events. And maybe a pre-typed letter that has no personality to it isn't the way to go. Again, I don't know what the approach is because that's a source of business that gives me so much anxiety I can't even handle it. Yeah. But I do know about connection at a high level, and you have better find a way to make a very quick connection that is different than the other people if you're going to attack those 3 sources of business for sure.
Right?
How do you think? Okay, so let's focus on just divorce for just a second. What's the best way if I want to get into the not get into the divorce game, but if I want to get into the divorce lead generation game? Is this, there we go. Is it, I need to hook up with attorneys? Is it like, I need to,
both. Yeah. So I mean,
to really be on the lookout for couples fighting at restaurants and
stuff. Yeah.
Like,
so I think,
I start dropping your card on tables at restaurants. Like, you guys do not look happy.
Yeah.
So I tested a couple of theories, and so far, a lot of mine have actually come from expired listings, right? And then referrals, but, Matthew's right on this one is getting good with divorce and probate attorneys. That's going to be the easiest. I did run free divorce guidance for Collin County. It was a Facebook page, and I ran ads to it. Now, here's what I did not expect, right? And the problem that I have is my marketing and my the way I call, the way I text, I'm very direct, right? So there's no foreplay.
Yeah.
And when I was running online leads and pay-per-click and Facebook, these people that were searching, for real estate and divorce or something of that, they were so far early in the process that the other partner probably did not know.
Was unaware of their thoughts.
So the time frame
Start blowing them up with automation.
Yes. Yes.
Sitting at dinner with his wife and is like, "Do you hate her?" ? I have a solution for you.
Or that you start sending letters.
Yeah.
And the spouse starts opening or starts seeing it and like, right? And so you start making phone calls and they answer and they get real standoffish, even worse than making foreclosure calls. So, I mean, mine so far has been
foreclosure. Everybody knows you're getting a foreclose on. Divorce, sometimes everybody's not aware of what's
At least the important people already know in a foreclosure.
You say that back in the day. I called several spouses back during the recession days
And
that
they
had no clue that they were in foreclosure.
Yeah, I bet that's
so that was kind of a very similar call.
Yeah.
But if here's the thing. You just need to perfect the marketing behind it and your messaging, right? So it's going to take I think the biggest thing and what you've done really well, Brian, with setting up your automations with the texting campaigns and everything else is like you didn't just send off one-off messaging and like, this doesn't work.
Right.
You tweak the messages until you started getting the right response mechanism. And then you're like, all right, if this is working, let's go with a larger scale. All right, it's working.
It's 100% what we do. We do it every week. We split tests.
I just tweaked the expired marketing yesterday, and we've been running that for 2.5 years.
And even when we try something new, we usually do like a batch, like 500 a week. We measure like the responses, and then we put the second message in, and kind of like, and we'll do 500 more for the first message if it worked. Like we have a kind of whole process.
Yes.
Like it's. I'm talking like it's perfect. It's not, but we at least have a system to like try different things.
It's actionable, right? Like here's the thing is, right? Like all these things are perfectly made and they're executed imperfectly.
Yeah, 100%, right? Dude, like
just like you as a human
bro,
are, right?
And the reality is quarterbacks call audibles of the line all the time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But you got to have a playbook.
You have to have some sort of. Brian is amazing at least attempting to explain to people systems are skeletons. Right? It is the agent or the person on the ground's ability to bring muscle and skin and tendons to it that build that out into a fully formed object. Systems will never, and I mean not in any scenario, ever be your fully formed thing. The system is going to be as good as your ability to freaking build off of it. Yep. Even when we're talking to agents, I don't talk about the systems we have as some building that they can walk into, meet somebody at the front door who they grab a pamphlet and then know exactly what floor to go to. No, it's scaffolding that you on your own ability are allowed to climb to whatever level of success you want to have. The higher you climb, the more valuable it becomes. You can also hang out on the second floor where it's not scary and just do the shit everybody does.
Yeah.
Right? That's all systems are. It is a metal framework that you can build off of as somebody who has talent.
Yep.
So super good.
Last thing, so a little bonus. Rentals that are staying on the market, right? So you go to the four owner or the four rent by owner market and see, are they struggling with getting it rented out? And then going to them and saying, hey, it's kind of your circle prospecting target and say, I may have a buyer ready for this. If they bought it at X price, would you sell
I would say it's kind of this weird mix between circle prospecting, like targeted circle prospecting, and expireds, honestly. Like you're going to have some elements of the expired conversation in there too, like because the rental market is hot as well. Why isn't this thing renting, right? Like what value can you bring this owner to either help them get it rented, or if they're trying to rent it right now and it's not renting, they have carrying costs, they have all that stuff, they're probably interested in selling. So
just statistically, most people who own investment properties don't own more than one, and they probably don't want to own that one, right? Like I would challenge you, one, if you find a rental property, just go on and see if they pay their taxes in the state that you live in. If they don't, they probably want to unload that bitch. Yeah, dude. Right? If you live in California and you own a property in Plano, Texas, right?
When it's not renting.
The one that's not renting.
Yeah.
What is your anxiety around that? Maybe you're independently wealthy, you don't care at all. And if you're independently wealthy, I can have the conversation with you. How much is that $350,000 going to sit better in your pocket for current investments, as opposed to you getting $2,500 a month, maybe next month?
That's the nuance of those conversations. That's the cool thing about the for rent by owner strategy is every single one of those conversations just turns into, if you're not going to take that listing, you're talking to a real estate investor. They're buyers.
Yeah.
You're just forming a new relationship with somebody that can.
Somebody
absolutely
owns
do
two
business
houses
with
is
the
not
future.
financially dumb.
And this is how short-sighted we get in the industry. Like, for rent by owners, I'm not trying to list leases. I'm not telling you to list leases. I'm telling you these would be great conversations to have, whether you turn them into actual for sale listings because they're not renting, or you're just talking to a person that clearly has a mind for real estate investing. What are we doing?
By the way, if you list, lease listings, do you know how many buyer leads you actually would get off?
Oh, dude, honestly, that's part of my problem. Like, I used to have this really sexy listing that I leased in Highland Park every year, and we actually just sold it this year. But it was a really great price point, which is why I took it. But also the sheer volume of people that will come in, and that I'll give a shout out to Joe Atkins, who has offices in multiple places, but he's a broker here in Dallas. He's a really awesome guy, and he's shared with me before about how he built his business during the original recession. I can't remember the number. If Joe ever watches this, chime in. I think it was in his first year or second year real estate, he did some 30, 40 leases. Maybe it was 60.
That's a shitload of money.
Yes, and he converted the majority of them into buyers over time.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's 100%.
All about this shit is just having a game plan for what you want to do in the future with it. No business is bad business. You just need to understand what your long-term play is. And this is where real estate agents, and I know we're wrapping up here, but this is where real estate agents get fucked up, is that they start thinking that the check today is the only thing that matters. And the second you move out of that place of lack and look, I get it, man. I've talked on this show so many times about being broke and the way I feel about money. And there was a very recent time in my real estate career where I was not sure I was going to make it, right? The reality is when you start getting your business into a space where you're implementing some of these things and you have a real business, not you working for you, right? But you have a real business, you're able to talk about some of that. You're able to execute on some of the stuff we're talking about. You're able to not be attached to the outcome. You're able to look at people and say, hey, I don't care. Brian and I had this conversation today about somebody that we wanted to partner with. This person is going to be a long-term situation. I don't care if they sign now or in 2023, not because I don't want to partner with them. They're amazing, but because I have no attachment to the outcome financially, emotionally, or any other way. And when you can get to that space as a real estate agent, you start executing an absurdly high level for what people really need, because then you can take somebody who has a lease, get them with the credit repair person, get them with your lender, get them into all these phases of things that if you have good vendors, they'll stay in your world, and then help them when their time's right, not when your bank account's light. Right? Like, it's just, it doesn't matter.
Like Johnny Cochran.
I didn't mean to like rhyme it, but like it just worked out.
It's 100% true. Imagine, like, you guys know the little arcade game where the light goes around in a circle and you got to hit the button right when it's on. Like, that's what most people are like with their lead generation. They're just trying to find the people who are ready to go right now when that light lines up right in the little score zone or whatever. Imagine if you could just hit that button as many times as you want and lights would just slowly move towards that line, but you've already hit them over time. That's what a good business looks like. I don't need to time it out perfectly. Just build relationships. Just build a lot of relationships with people. We've talked about social media and going deeper on that today. Like, I know we just come in rambling in this episode, but there's gold in here. If you talk about taking your engagement from social media and deepening those conversations, if you talk about using your buyers as assets, if you talk about even stuff like FSBOs and for rent by owners, all we're really talking about is developing more relationships with people and building systems to deepen them over time, rather than trying to catch a falling knife all the time and only lead generating for people that are ready to go right now. That's what most people do, and that's why most people fail in this business, because they just try to find the people who are only ready to go right now.
What was the stat yesterday you threw out to your meeting? How many deals did the average agent close in 2021?
Guys, it's 4.78.
It's falling.
It ain't
It's
great.
1.6 million realtors against 6.7 closed deals.
I can just tell you right now, unless you're in a really high volume market, 5 deals ain't paying your bills, and you know it.
Yep.
That's why you're going to see the numbers go down to 700 to 800,000 licensed agents. You'll see platforms taking momentum.
Yep.
And the niche agents that are doing short sales or maybe probate
divorce
will still make their 3, 4, 5, maybe $1 million.
The agents who are 5 years away from retirement are golden. The ages who are 5 years away from retirement and have a set database and stuff are fine, right? I'm just telling you right now, if you're new to this industry or if you're in a space where you're struggling or you've been doing this 10 years and you're moving backwards, it's not a great spot to be in. And you're also not stuck there because there are solutions for you that are not discounting your commission. They're not whatever. It's getting with the fucking program, man. There are so many things that are happening in real estate now that require you to be nimble. And if you haven't had an innovative thought in the past 12 months, I can promise you don't get what's happening.
Yep. I couldn't say it better than that.
You better go leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for yelling at you.
It's not yelling. We just love you. It's just like when you spank your kid because
By the way,
they can burn their hand.
Matthew O'Gary.
Thank
Gary.
you.
Gary.
Dude, you better go get with old Mortgage Mike, mortgagemikeoftexas.com.
Do it.
Because, look, you're in Texas. You want a badass lender,
New Braunfels, homie.
right? So you might as well go get that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. And every other real estate agent here in Texas, or if you got clients relocating to Texas, sends your clients to Mortgage Mike, mortgagemikeoftexas.com. And if you got those investors that are looking to increase their rental portfolio, maybe they already have some and they're needing a good property manager here in DFW, go to homewarddfw.com.
Check it out. Win an Oculus. We're playing golf tonight. And that could be you in the future.
We're probably playing golf tomorrow too because Texas is going to shut down.
We're
for
probably
the next
playing
48
golf all
hours.
day tomorrow.
Dude,
if you have an
you.
Oculus, message us
You
here.
guys want to go do donuts?
I did. So here's the funny thing.
Remember when donuts were super cool?
I'll give all my
Was
Texas homies. Yes, dude. When we had the snow thing last year, if you don't think I didn't take Luke out as a full on Texan,
My
who was
dad
born
used
in
to do it in his GMC van
I'd
when I
take
was a
him
kid.
out.
I used to do it in my
Texas
mom's
people.
suburban
There you
high
go.
school.
All my
That
Texas
was some
people,
fun
all the
stuff.
Southern watchers of this show who do not deal with ice. Little pro tip for you, right? Tonight, go out to your car, turn your windshield wipers on, let them get to like the half thing, and then turn your car off, right? Pull the windshield wipers off, lay a towel, over your windshield,
Ooh.
put the windshield wipers back down. When you go out to your car on Friday morning after it's been raining on it, especially if you don't have a garage or a carport, you just take that towel off, no ice on your windshield.
I just throw hot water on that.
That's
Scalding water and shattering your
Don't take
windshield.
Nick's terrible advice by pouring hot water on glass.
Is there a YouTube video of that? I've never seen anybody's windshield shatter like that.
I've
Should
seen
we do it
somebody's
tomorrow?
We should
I
do it
used to do it.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here's the dipshit thing that happened last year was
We'll line all of our cars up and see whose windshield is the strongest.
we had actual snow last year, and I saw people driving on the highway with like a big chunk of snow on their roof that was also ice covered. So when they got to 60 miles an hour, that shit came off like a queen size mattress.
Just 100%,
You'll
dude.
kill somebody just across the board. Don't ever do that.
That
right?
stuff I don't.
Northern
like.
people
that
already know
etiquette
this.
is
It ain't my
trash.
ice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Are we done here?
Dude, the part 1 and part 2 both over an hour long.
I know. I feel pretty good about
This
the
is something we
content.
feel really passionate about. Like, I think people don't understand is like, we've done webinars on this. This is not something that we try to hide behind.
What
Like,
was it, take10.com? What was it?
Even
What was
before-
it?
touracademy.com/take10.
Yeah,
Brian
yes.
Brian and I built this whole business off coming from contribution around lead generation. There's no secrets. And the reason why this didn't sound dramatically different than what you've always heard is because there's not a secret. It's about execution.
Dude,
it's about personality. It's about conversation.
There's always a secret. That's why we keep them coming back for more.
Yeah, but here's the thing is the secret is there isn't a secret.
Wait, what?
Tune in next time.
Tune in next
I guess
time.
this is the last show.
For more secrets. We'll just end it here. Just don't want anybody to think we're doing anything crazy. This is all attainable.
We're not.
I flunked out of college twice. I'm a C high school student.
That's
I
why
have no
they should
business
partner
doing
with
anything.
us. That's why they partner with us.
Would you
Yes.
flunk out of the same college twice?
Yeah.
Oh, they let you back?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was on academic probation straight up out of high school.
They were
Wait,
like, just
what?
coming in. We already
They
don't
were like,
trust this
take
kid.
Psych 101 and Music 101 and we'll see if
Psych.
we want you.
You're like, you super need Psych 101.
my 1985 Ford Festiva got me there. And then I drank
I, too, was asked not to come back.
Juarez tequila
Oh,
Gross.
and Rolling Rocks.
yeah.
Oh, that's just
Shout out Ames, Iowa.
straight ulcer fuel.
All right, Jesse. I think we're officially done here, buddy.
All right.
Are you ready for it?
I'm
or should I
ready.
just keep talking until you click a button?
Golf
You
tonight.
can keep talking. Golf tonight.
Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. Then go to that one. Thanks.